Hi, Tom. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Vince. We're live.
Indeed. Hello, everybody. That's what I say all the time.
Hey, friends.
There you go. We're driving. This is probably going to be loud and awful because the car it's raining also, so I'm not going to be looking at the camera. I apologize.
No.
But I don't want to die.
Sure.
I mean, I don't care if I kill Tom. It's only myself.
Yeah.
So, Tom, we're on our way back from NashCon.
Yep. So what are we going to do here? What are we doing?
We're going to recap NashCon.
Yeah.
And talk about it. We'll probably do this formally on a show at some point in time.
Yep.
It'll probably be a little while just because of the way guests are booked, but so be it. Yep. Also, this is probably a terrible connection because we're in the middle of the wilderness of Kentucky, so
it's true.
We could be kidnapped, molested at any point.
It keeps telling me bad connection.
Sure.
Yep. So, assuming that everything is fine, what were your initial impressions?
Yeah, so, I mean, overall, David ran an awesome tournament. It was really good. It was very fun. The schemes, I think, went over very well, which, you know, were obviously exactly as I sort of had proposed them. You and I got together and wrote them out.
Yep.
David put them together in some awesome cards that he had people draw randomly. I think they worked very well, and they, frankly, were like a major saving grace for myself, just from a very personal level in the tournament.
And why was that?
Well, that's because I went 1-4. I mean, to be very real, like that's the bottom line there, you know? Like, I lost every game except first. And now, I felt like I was competitive in a lot of those games, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, but the way major victories work on a lot of those book battle plans,
yep.
It's like, if you lose by a point,
yep.
It's a major victory to your enemy. So, like, you know, when we did what was it? Like, God bless it. We did 3 places of power or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I lost by 1 point to the guy who ended up winning the whole tournament, which I should point out, to Matt. And, you know, it was a relatively close game.
Yep.
But, again, it was 10-9 at the end, which means he got the major victory, so he gets 15, I get 0. Which, you know, normally, if that was just to be the whole game, if I was just to be that, and be getting my teeth kicked in repeatedly, close games are always fun. But a loss is a loss, right?
Yeah.
But instead, I did manage to complete my scheme all 5 times.
Which, let me just say, like, that's a big deal.
Sure.
Because, for 1 points-wise, those schemes were 10 points, which is the equivalent of a minor victory.
Right.
Like, let's be honest here. A major victory was 15, and each scheme was 10. And so, and it was really hard to pull off schemes.
Sure.
Like, maybe, you know, you pulled it off in every game. At the beginning, when we showed up, we drew 7 random cards out of a deck of 19. And you had to hope that you could complete the 7, you know, and each game you could pick which one you were going to attempt to accomplish. And, like, I only got 3 of my 7. I got really close on at least one other one. But man, it was a brutal, like, a lot of other people didn't even get 3.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you had to think about it another way to play, right?
Yeah. You know,
you had to make them a priority.
And we talked about this. Like, one of the things that this does, this incentivizes or rewards generalist lists that can do lots of different things, mobility and hitting power and killiness and all of those things.
Yep.
Survivability. It also rewards
sort of like in-action strategic thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like, as opposed to, like, beforehand, everybody's got an idea of what they're going to do with their list, right? You're like, this is the general way I operate, the general things I'm going to do. But there's which is, like, I'll be completely honest, that doesn't interest me very much.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, it's not that I don't think about what I'm going to do. It's fine. Of course I think of my synergies and stuff. But I find the, like, in-battle reacting to the situation much more interesting.
Yeah.
So, like, because if it's just showing up and you set the clockwork in motion,
Yep.
then it's not fun for me. Like, just leave. Walk away from the table. Who cares? Like, if it just all happens without my actions, Like, it should be me making spot decisions to go here, to do this thing, to react in this way. You know, those are the parts when you do those kinds of plays. That's what's interesting. And schemes reward being able to do that.
Yeah. Respond to the situation on the table in the moment, and make the call that changes the game, or or that pulls off the scheme.
Yep.
No, I would agree with that.
So, I mean, overall, it was great. David ran a great tournament. He had very nice tables. I know he was hustling and felt like he didn't get enough terrain done. I thought it was fine.
He did great.
Yeah, all the tables looked good.
Yep.
There's plenty of space. He ran it very tight ship. He had one little very minor kerfuffle at round 3, but that was just it. It was round 3. It was the last round of the day. So it was like, and he didn't knock time off anybody.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, all right, hold on, pause. I need to reshuffle. He did like 5 minutes and he was ready to go. I mean, it was the minorest of inconveniences.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it.
Right. And it was fine. Like, everybody was good. Like, but as far as people-wise, let me talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really great group of people who showed up.
Yeah.
Everybody was friendly. Everybody was very...
There were, on that, like, there were, at the very end for the Sportsmanship Award, there were 4 people who not only tied for perfect sportsmanship scores, but also had favorite opponent votes.
Yes.
Tied favorite opponents. 4 people. It was crazy.
I mean, that should show you that it was a really good group of people, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever heard any kind of disagreement.
Sure.
Like, yeah, I can't think of
other
anything
than, like, you complaining about my list.
Look, you're a terrible person to play. I mean, not, like, with that list. It's just awful. It's like...
what playing Nurgle should be.
It's just wretched. Like, the definition of wretched. So, we can talk about that when we talk about games.
Yeah, totally.
But God in heaven. It's just a mess. So, overall, awesome tournaments, good time, good hotel, good location, good people. I don't know what there are literally no complaints I have about that.
Yeah, we were on, like, the 3rd floor, right against the stairwell. So, and the stairwell kicked us out right in front of the game hall.
Sure.
So, like, it was awesome for us. Like, we were able to just, like, I was able to hop back up to the room real quick, and it was, it was a wonderful site, location as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Venue.
We had that was the perfect room we had. It would have been better if it was, like, maybe the 2nd floor, but like, it was perfect. I'm going to request a very specific room next time.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely go back. I mean, let me say that. Like, one of my big goals, and I was very clear with David on this, is that I want to get this tournament to 50 people next year.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And I think we can do it. So, like, next year I'm going to paint up a special mini for the tournament itself and give it to him to give away as, like, something. You can do whatever. You can do whatever he wants with it.
Sure. Maybe I'll make him a board.
There you go.
Like, that's one of the... There's a number of people brought boards. And so that was really neat that they were able to bring
stupid things.
Yeah. Yep.
Big giant waste. But overall, like, I mean, obviously I was happy. I ended up winning Best Painted, which was cool.
Yep.
I ended on like 77 points or something, which I was happy enough with.
That's good.
Certainly. Yeah. It's great. I think that's what I ended up at. I'm not totally sure about that because I haven't gone on the forums or whatever.
Matt won at 110.
Something like that, yeah.
Out of a possible 125. I ended up at an 85. Yep.
I did better than I was expecting. There you go. Yeah. That's all on schemes, baby. Yeah. Thanks for helping me have a fun time.
Yeah, me. You said 80. How many points?
Go me. What's that?
How many points did you say?
What?
80. You said 80. How many points?
77 is what I
Or 77. And so 50 points of that was schemes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Yep. Like I said, I got 85. I finished with a major victory at the end of the game on table number 6. And so I don't know what my final points were in comparison. There were a lot of people tied up at the top, like just very similar points. And I know Matt was the next closest person to Matt. Matt got a perfect score, like he 25 Tyler in the final round. And so Matt was significantly higher than most other people as well. Like he was already leading by a chunk.
Sure, and his list was brutal.
Well, I know that David said that 4 people tied for at 100.
Sure.
Yeah. So, so I don't know what exactly rank. I ended up getting third in the painting, like the painting competition. It was all player's choice. That was pretty cool. So you want to talk about some games?
Sure.
So tell us about your first game.
Sure. So game 1, I played against Will, and he had a very different list, a very fluffy list, which was all what is it called? It's one of your pointier things. So.
Oh yeah, the elf. Yeah, the Eldritch Council.
There it is.
The dragon list.
Eldritch Council list. Yes.
Yeah.
So he had, and my 2 lists were whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to go through it because who cares? So he had.
No. Well, I do want to hear about your list, Vince.
I had 2 lists. One was Fatesworn, which was a giant Slaves to Darkness piece of crap that uses the Fatesworn battalion, which is like 10 units. You got to fit in 2,000. You got to fit in 1,880 points. You got to fit 10 units in there.
And of course, Vince doesn't want to paint any Marauders or more than his 20 Chaos Warriors.
That is correct, because painting units makes me want to die. So like I had to make it work, and that's fine. So Chaos Knights were part of my battle line, and blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah. Fun fact: Chaos Knights can be battle lined if you are Slaves to Darkness allegiance.
Heck yeah, they can. The other list was both Siege aligned.
Yep.
The other list was used an Arcanite Cabal, 2 Shamans, and a Fate Master General. Oh yeah, the Fate Master General, baby. Nobody sees that coming. And that guy died every game.
Godsworn.
Yeah, and then the Godsworn Champions of Ruin with like a Demon Prince, an Exalted Hero, and Chaos Warriors. And then the Mutalith Vortex Beast, 6 Skyfires, and 20 Zangor. There you go.
Yep.
So the Skyfire, like, Zangor list was better.
It was like 6 drops?
5 drops.
5 drops? Yeah.
It's 5 drops because I wanted a Mutalith Vortex Beast. Nothing about that list required that Mutalith Vortex Beast, but he is awesome. And I regret nothing. I would take him again. That's a poor guy. That dude, I mean, he died.
Mutalith Vortex Beast, for those of you that don't know, is a 220-point monster. He's Siege aligned.
He's
now.
A steal. He's a steal, that's what he is. Bargain basement pricing.
14 wounds, 4 up save.
12.
12 up, 12 wounds. He heals a D3 on every turn.
Yep.
His big claim to fame is that in the hero phase?
In the hero phase, yeah.
It's in the hero phase, you roll a D6.
I wish it was the shooting phase. He'd be so much better if it's the shooting phase, because then he could move first turn and do it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the hero phase is quite a limitation on him, unfortunately.
So, what he fires off is like, on a 1 to 3, it's meaningless?
I mean, more or less, yes. That's not true. No, that's a lie.
Yeah, no.
I actually think the 2 is super brutal.
So, a 1 is -1 bravery.
Which is like, once in a blue moon, that's going to cost an additional guy to play.
Right. Yeah, that's not real important. The 2 is like basically old school stupidity.
Yeah. Old school stupidity was leadership tests, but still, yes, it's from that point on, literally for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Anytime that at the start of the turn, you roll a die, it's mystical. It's current mystical is what it is. Okay, like mystical terrain.
Yeah.
So for the rest of the game, start of every turn, that unit rolls a die, and if they roll a 1, they do nothing. They can't move, can't cast, can't shoot, can't attack. So they will just sit there and get beat on if they're in combat, and you cannot elect them to attack back.
Yeah.
It is brutal. Like, that is an unbelievably good roll.
Huh.
Like,
so, do you think you could run a list with 3 of those?
With 3 Vortex Beasts?
Or 4?
Well, the sucky thing is you can't Siege die the Vortex Beast.
Yeah.
Because that would be sweet if you could. It's not like, it's not any of those things.
But imagine running with like multiples and like pinging a bunch of different stuff.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure you could. I don't know who owns 3 Mutalith Vortex Beasts. But I should.
Sure.
But anyway, so that was the other list. So the first, so I played Will, and he had
And you played that list 4 out of 5 games.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
It was the better list, I mean, by far. And it was still crap, because, like, I only had, like, 6 Skyfires, you know, whatever.
Yep.
Like, Skyfires are as stupidly undercosted and broken as they are purported to be. I mean, let's not...
You ran 6 of them, right?
Ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, just
and
6.
I mean, most people I ran up against had, like, 9 or more, if they had... Most of the other people in the tournament had, like, 9 or 12 or something.
Yep.
So... He had 2 Archmages on Dragon, the Drake Seer, which is the other thing.
Yeah.
He had, like, the Archmage on Steed, a Lore Master, another Archmage on Foot. It was all that. So he just had, like,
a bunch of Sword Masters.
It's just a bunch of Sword Masters, because, like, it's so much character, it's so many characters, like, he just had massive points in these Dragon models. Which, the funny thing about those Dragon models is they're, like, so destructive, right? They really are. Like, no joke, those things are beasts in combat. Like, they spit Mortal Wound Fire automatically with a 12-inch range. No roll to hit, no nothing. You just pick a unit 12 inches, roll a d6, and it takes some varying number of mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
In combat, they have, like, that dragon gets 3 bite attacks that are all cannonballs.
Yeah. That
Okay.
are neg 2 Ren D. Like, is it
damage.
4 up to neg 2 Ren D6?
Something like that. It might be like 3 up.
Wow.
It might be 3 up, neg 2
Yeah.
red. But I mean, so the point is, it works out to the same math as a cannonball, right? And I mean, they have other attacks too. It's not just that bite, but anything that's neg 2 ren for d6 damage is pretty good.
Yeah.
And they have 3 of those attacks, so like...
And that's 1 dragon, and he was running 3.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Achilles heel of them, right, is that they're like a 5-up save and have socks defenses. Like, they have nothing else going on as far as defense goes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true.
So, you know, I mean, I chose the Skyfire list and shot them down. I mean, that's there's no great mystery to what I did. At the top of one, I like blew off both the Archmages, and then just like slowly worked around and picked stuff apart.
Yep.
You know, and it's not the fault of Will. I mean, he played as good as he could. He was, you know, conservative enough. It's just like he had the wrong. I had a hammer and he had an obvious nail in that situation. I know.
Yeah. You had the right tool for the right situation.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and I achieved my scheme that game, and so it was like a major victory with the scheme. Because David decided to invert, he did it alphabetically, he did the setup, right?
Well, that's what he was going to do. He changed it.
Well, no, he did it alphabetically. Like, alphabetically in general, right? So you played the people nearest to you alphabetically. And originally, I've been talking about being on the bottom tables, and I was so excited when he said he was going to do it alphabetically, because that would mean I would be on the bottom table, and I'd be like, yes, right here where I belong starting out. But then he's like, well, I'm going to flip it.
Yeah.
So I started on table 1, and I was like, God bless it. So then I ended up major victory and staying on table 1, and I was like, this is
a 25 point, yeah.
Yeah. So I ended with 25. So that's my first game.
Yep. So I took my very standard Nurgle list. You guys have heard me trot it out before. Harbinger. So the anchors, Plague Touch Warband. Normally it's going to be a 3-drop. This was kind of my core list. Plague Touch Warband with a Harbinger, Sorcerer on Steed, and a 28 block of Chaos Warriors, 3 blocks of 10 Marauders, and 2 units of 5 Vikings. That's the battalion drop. The heroes are, I normally run Sail and Bellicor as well, so that they're what take me up to 3 drops. The Plague Touch Warband in melee, so everybody but Sail and Bellicor get this. And then, oh, by the way, and also I have 120 points of summoning, which actually changed the math from what I had at Adepticon, because I actually had a different set of summons because of what stuff I had painted, which made it a pretty big deal in a couple games. So, but I'll get back to that. So, the battalion, everybody in the battalion except for Sail and Bellicor was neg 1 to hit in melee in close combat, which is really good.
Awful.
When you stack it with Cutting Deceiver, which I did, in the first round of combat, everybody is neg 2 to hit me in melee combat, and in range combat, I'm neg 1 to hit. And so it just makes it really difficult to put wounds on me. And I think in every single game, I was in combat top of turn 1. I think, maybe not every single game, but a lot of games I was in combat top of turn 1.
I mean, you had a minor kerfuffle with me at the top of 1.
Yeah, and a minor kerfuffle, yes.
You fought like 2 Chaos Warriors.
I totally fought 2 Chaos Warriors. I was like, I am in, let's do this.
Yeah,
all 2 of them. So we did, I ran that, 120 points. It gave me the option of, I had my 10 Plague Bearers, I had my 10 Furies as options. I also was able to add a Herald of Nurgle, just in case I needed an extra hero for some reason. But the more important one was I had both a Herald of Tzeentch on foot and a Herald of Tzeentch on disc, which they have some really neat, like, if I needed to put mortal wounds on something, I could 3 dice. So I could summon one of those guys with Bellacor's off spell for a Herald. And they have the Heralds have a once per game ability to 3 dice. So I can throw 3 dice at them, with them, at their pink fire ability, which casts on a 9, does a d6 mortal wounds. They also have another ability that when they cast on a 9, they get to cast a second spell. And so one thing that I generally have a problem with is having enough casters to throw around Arcane Bolt. And so what this guy lets me do is summon him, and then I 3 dice the pink fire, and every time I tried to cast it, I got it off. Because I averaged 9.5 dice, and I got it every single time. Got my 9. So I would do d6 mortal wounds, and then I'd immediately, since I got that 9, it would trigger a second cast, and I'd Arcane Bolt. So I could hit a single target for d6 mortal wounds, d3 mortal wounds. And so if I needed to assassinate a hero, for example, that gives me an option to like reach deep into their lines, because I can summon 18 inches out, and then he can nuke 18 inches into the line. So it's a very handy, powerful tool. So that was my main list. I played that 4 out of my 5 games. And then my my alternative list is that, so one thing I've obviously recognized is that Be'lakor is of limited use with heavy Skyfire lists, heavy mortal wounds in general. And so I literally just traded out Be'lakor completely in my second list, so kept everything else identical, traded out Be'lakor, and just dumped all of his 240 points into the summon pool. And so I would jump from 120 to 360 summoning. So for that 360, I brought 30 Plague Bearers. I brought 2 Heralds on foot, Herald of Tzeentch on foot. I brought a Herald of Tzeentch on disc. I brought a set of 10 pink horrors. I brought 20 blue horrors. Bought 20 brimstone horrors. And so like that, all of those things gave me lots of options with that last list. So I could drop a pink horrors and have enough points to drop out 20 blues and then 20 brimstone on top of that. Or I could do the pink horror, and I could throw 3 dice at a summon. I could throw 3 dice at a oh, it had a Veil Wind as well, but I never used it. I could throw 3 dice at a summon Plague Bearers and have a chance of dropping a 20 block of Plague Bearers onto an objective. Or I could like summon another one I could do is I could summon the Herald, 18 inches out, stretch out a line of pink horrors 1 inch apart, and then on the other side, have those pink horrors and summon like a block of 10 Plague Bearers. So if anybody overextended themselves, I could reach like 70 some inches back into, like across the table, and summon deep into their lines if I needed to drop like Plague Bearers, for example, on one of their objectives to steal it away at the end. So I had lots of options with the summoning list. Only played it once my last game. So first game I played Tyler Emerson. Tyler brought his Gnarl Root Wargrove. Obviously that includes the Household Battalion, which bit me in the butt because I had forgotten. But he ran like a Tree Lord, Spirit of Durathu, and a Branch Witch, 2 sets of 10 Dryads, a Pre-Revenant, 6 Kurnoth with Scythes, 2 sets of 3 Kurnoth with bows, and that's it. He was single drop, so he took first turn. He knew, the problem is that Tyler played me on a table he had played the night before, and he knew everything my list did. Because Tyler, we've talked about my list, he watched it at Adepticon, he's read through the blog, so he knows all my tricks, he knows all the stuff that's potential. And he played smart. He played a great game. He moved both the Spirit of Durathu. He tried to Alpha Strike me. He thought maybe if he could get some wounds on the Chaos Warriors top of 1. So like he he tried to go for the Alpha Strike, so he brought both the Spirit of the Durthu and the Tree Lord Ancient up into the middle of the board. He brought in the 6 Kernothless Scythes, which were like, you know, all this was 9 inches off my line. And he brought the Branch Witch behind those units. The problem is that the Kernothless Scythes failed their save. Or failed their, they rolled a 1, so they couldn't do anything. So their turn ended, or their movement ended. And then the Tree Lord and the Spirit of Durthu, both of them failed their charges. And so he ended up being 9 inches off of my front line. And I was like, I'll take it. He very smartly shot off like Marauder units and started taking out units that I was using to hold objectives. And so he didn't fall into the trap of trying to like nuke down the Chaos Warrior line. And so, which is a trap. It is a trap. They shouldn't do it. But a lot of people, most people, fell into that trap. Even though he could have maybe battle shocked some of them off and got some of them. And so what ended up happening on my turn was I charged my Chaos Warriors forward. And I sailed them, I fully buffed them, I did all the stuff. Moved them around, and I was able to like arc all the way around them. So when I charged in, I was able to keep Durthu out of combat. And so I only got in on his general. And I was hoping that I could put a bunch of wounds, like get a bunch of bounce back on his general. And it just never materialized. I did probably 6 wounds, I did 1 or 2 wounds maybe on bounce backs. Kept Durthu out of combat for top of 1. So what I should have done is I should have only engaged him with 1 or 2 Chaos Warriors. Because I got a long charge. I got like an 11-inch charge. And I was already behind. What I should have done is sent a couple in on the general to lock him into place. And then stretched the other ones and shifted all the rest of them back towards one of its objectives with the Chaos Warriors. And immediately put pressure on there. That would have been the right move, but I just didn't do it. I didn't think about it. Because my plan was that I'll engage them, and then Sail will hit them in turn 2, buff them, and they'll retreat over top them with an 18-inch retreat and land on the point. And what ended up happening was that bit me in the butt because I forgot, like, I just don't play household enough. You can't retreat from a household. That's part of one of the battalion rules. And so it locked me into combat there, in a combat I really didn't want to be in with those Chaos Warriors.
It's a good rule.
Yeah, it's a great rule. Yeah, and it was a great move by Tyler. I summoned, very early on, I summoned, so I double turned Tyler. I summoned the Herald of Tzeentch up on top of the building, above Tyler's 2 treemen, threw my 3 dice, put like 6 mortal wounds on Durthu, just right out of the gate, charged Be'lakor forward, put a couple more wounds on Durthu, or like, another wound or 2.
It's going to be the most detailed recap that amounts to I didn't win ever.
I didn't win, yeah. So anyways, what ended up happening was he shifted around, teleported, killed off Chaff, and there we go. He killed off some Chaff, and ended up I ended up getting a minor loss, but I got my scheme, which was to get Sail killed. So I ran Sail, it was to get my protege killed.
Murder protege.
Yeah, murder protege. So I chose one of my heroes that wasn't my general, which was Sail, because I knew, man, that dude was a dead man. And I knew if I could get him into a bad position, I knew either Tyler would kill him or I could kill him with splash damage from all the shaking trees, the mortal wounds of the trees. And that's exactly what I did.
He got lost in the woods.
He got lost in the woods and just murdered by the woods. So Tyler came away with a minor victory. I had a minor defeat, but I got my objective, and he got his as well, which was keeping his Branch Witch out of combat. So, game 1. Vince, game 2.
So game 2 I played Matt, who was the eventual winner of the tournament.
Yep.
Matt had a
Matt Sweeney. Matt.
Is that his last name?
Sweeney, yeah.
It doesn't sound right, but okay. Oh, are you looking at it? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
He played Brad, Brad, in the final round on table 4 at Adepticon. So, I mean, and Brad had a harder list this time than he did at Adepticon.
You mean Matt?
Matt, I'm sorry, not Brad. Yes, Matt had a harder list. So go ahead.
Yeah, so he had a great list. I mean, he was running some. I don't need to look at it. I'm not going to recount blow by blow.
Yep.
He had a big Stormcast list, and he was all Hollow Knights or whatever. He had it was a single drop if he wanted. I did end up taking the Zangor list out because, like, the one drop list against him would have been a dice off then to see who actually dropped first, but in the end I just didn't feel it had the cojones to actually do anything to his list.
Yeah.
He did have a real good amount of anti-shooting between having a big old block of protectors and having fulminators. 4 fulminators is going to be a thing that happens here in the next couple games. 4 fulminators are just unkillable by either of my lists. That's not a thing I can chew through because, you know, given his hero buffs and where they were at, those guys are on like 2-up, rerolling 1s, you know, 6s, heal them back wounds, and just blah 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 because the lantern garbage. So, you know, they're just like unkillable. Now, and so that game was game 2 was 3 places of power, so it's the hero grabbing one. And you know, like I said, it was a good game. Like, don't get me wrong, I felt like I was competitive the whole time. There was a lot of back and forth. I managed to chew off a lot of his heroes. My scheme was to leave. The funny part about this game, the story to tell from this game is this. Who cares I lost? It ended 10-9. There you go. So I was close, but I couldn't get there. Here's the good part about this game. First of all, the Mutilate Vortex Beast just rock and rolled. The dude was unstoppable. Killed like the Lord Relic. Killed like the Tutor. Killed Tootie Toots. And a Lord Relictor. Just chewed his way through Stormcast heroes. Take that, Toots. And in addition to that, the scheme that I chose was Secret Informant, which is the one where you pick one of their heroes and he's a secret messenger for you, for your army. Like, he's delivering a secret message to you. So you have to leave that hero alive. You cannot kill that hero.
Yeah, so you choose a hero on the other side and you can't kill that hero.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I looked at his list and he had, you know, he had the full clutch of Stormcast nonsense, right?
He was running the Lords of Storm within the Hallowed Knights.
Right. So it was just, you know, all the nonsensery. And I was like, Lord Celestin, it's the leader. Like, because there's just no way I was going to kill this guy. He had, you know, Staunch Defender and blah, 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 blah. Like, he had the, his artifact was the insane better thing or whatever. So he was super tough.
His command trait.
Yeah, his command trait.
So he's like 2-up base.
And he had like a personal Lord Castellan following him around, right? Who could just heal him if he wanted to. And so there was just no way I was going to bring that guy down. So I was like, all right, the obvious choice is the Lord Celestin. I'll just have to live through the hammers and his command ability and call it a day. Now, unbeknownst to me, of course, he had picked the one where you, I don't remember the name of it, but the one where you have to get the character you choose killed. Okay? And he had picked, because it's a traitor, like, basically it's been discovered that this guy is a traitor. And so you, like, but if you just get rid of him outright, if you kill him outright, it's going to be, I don't know, whatever, just see what's the comment.
Your miniature chrome look dope.
Oh, very nice. So the one where you know someone's a traitor and you have to get them killed. He picked his Lord Celestin as the guy who was the traitor and then I had to kill. But I had already picked the scheme that I was not going to kill him. So he, like, there was a point where he ran him into a combat that by all accounts should have just murdered him. But because I was going for the actual mission, so I was retreating over the top to grab the points, right, for 3 places of power. But also, because of my scheme, he charged in and all my dudes were just like, nope, and just retreated and just, get out! Everybody just blew away from him, just in all directions, leaving him standing there holding the bag. So he ended up getting the major victory because, you know, because I had
you need one more point.
But he did end up getting a scheme, and I ended up getting mine since that guy didn't die.
Yeah.
So, like, the funny narrative to me here was that Sigmar had heard that this guy was a traitor, and I was like, yeah, he is. You're right. Give me them ducats and give me that secret message. So I thought that was fun.
So I did, for my second game, I played who you played in game 5, right? Which was, not Caleb, it was, what was his name?
Frank, right, or something?
What?
Is it Frank?
Maybe.
I don't remember.
So I apologize, I forgot your name, and it's not on your list, unfortunately. I'm
sorry, buddy. was a great game.
Yeah.
It was just the end of the tournament, and so that's why I don't remember the name. Like,
and it was yesterday.
3 days and 5 games in. I'm sorry, my brain wasn't totally there.
Yep. So I played. It was game 2. I took my Be'lakor list. He brought a mixed. He had like a mixed chaos list, like the best of chaos list, like what was at the South Coast GT as one of his lists. His other list was a Zinchi, Skyfire, like 9 Skyfire, 30 Zangor, Lord of Change,
Pinkies
and all that stuff. And it was 3 places of power, and he lined up right on the line. Just right down the line. And I was like, this isn't going to go well for you. I didn't say it to him. But, so I thrust. So I did all my drops, chose the Skyfires as my unit for Be'lakor. Ran everybody forward. Be'lakor ran up to 1 point and got behind a wall, so he wasn't actually, like, he was very close to all of his models. But I was out of line of sight because there was there's a terrain piece there. My Harbinger took the middle, and I summoned a Herald over onto the far side to an attempt to get closer to capping that. Ran the Chaos Warriors forward, charged them in, doing what I do with that list. Crashed into everything, all the pinks, all 30 Zangor, and just proceeded to grind. I started the grind. My big story, the highlight for me of this story was, like, I ground down through one of his Zangor units, and I've been watching where he was removing models, and he pulled this Zangor and freed up one of my Chaos Warriors to pile in. Well, his Skyfires were hiding, so this is at the top of 2. I won, I went, he went, and then when I went again, when I was grinding against the unit of 10 Zangor, finally pulled this model, and it allowed me to pile in a Chaos Warrior, the lone Chaos Warrior, and I locked in the Skyfires into combat. Because in the pile into my closest model, it pulled them into combat.
Right.
And so now they couldn't zoom forward and shoot off Be'lakor to get line of sight. And I was placed to power, so I just sat on all the points and just rolled up the tally. He tried to flank around, but it just wasn't enough time. He had at one point where he could have brought the score closer by assassinating my Harbinger, but he brought his Lord of Change in on my Harbinger of Decay, and I mean, that dude is, like, he's 4 up against spells, base. He's 5 up against mortal wounds, and I had the talisman on him, which gave him another 6 up against chaos. So he's real hard to shift. And then my scheme for that one was, I don't know what my scheme was.
Did you complete it?
I did. I completed my first 3 schemes.
Okay.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. You did it. Good job. GJ.
Yeah. Yay. Yeah, it was something, it was one of the, like, circumstantial stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. Cool. That's my game 2.
Okay.
Game 3.
Sure. Game 3. So game 3, the last game of last night. Mine was against Lewis.
Yep.
Lewis ended up getting my best game vote.
Nice.
It wasn't you. Look, like...
Thanks, Vince.
Yeah, no problem. You're my friend.
Yeah.
And, like, the thing on 5 was I would like to play this person more every day or whatever.
Yeah.
That's true. I would like to play you more, Tom.
Just not that list.
Just not that list. There's no way. I would have been a complete liar giving you my best game vote if I had picked you. Like,
Sure.
I love you, but not like that.
Yep.
Not enough to give that over the top of the like, just tire fire that your list is. So,
Tire fire. Awesome.
yeah, pretty much. So, so Lewis was also running a Stormcast list.
Yep.
He was running the Hammer Bros list. And he also had 4 Fulminators because
that's the right answer now.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Those dudes they're quite good, obviously, and they're especially good right now in the meta. I did use the Zangor shooty list again. that mission was, crap, what was our third mission last night? It was the,
It was Comet.
Comet, yeah, that's right.
The Heavens.
Gift of the Heavens. This was truly my favorite game. It came down to, like, because there was a point in round 5. Like, first of all, I failed. Everything I could have failed, I failed. It was awful. Like, every spell that I needed didn't go. It was just wretched all the way down the line. And so, like, everything just fell apart at the end. That being said, there was a point at the end of the game where, at round 5, where I could have automatically had the minor victory.
Yep.
Okay? I had, because we were tied on score. We would have remained tied on score for us both holding our gifts. And I could have just fled. All he had left was 4 fulminators and a knight of zeros.
Yeah.
That was it. I killed everything else off the table. And I still had, like, a full unit of Zangor untouched, a full unit of Chaos Warriors untouched, 2 Shamans, and a unit of Skyfires.
Yep.
And a Demon Prince.
Yep.
Okay? That's a lot of stuff. So in the minor victory condition, if you're tied on gift, is that you go to points.
Yeah, you go to points. Yeah.
So all my things were alive, were still highly mobile. Everything that I mentioned up there, like the Shamans, the Skyfires, the Demon Prince, all fly. They were all already not in combat.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So they all just could have, like, ran,
Collapsed.
flown in different directions, and his 4 guys were all that was holding his point, right?
Yeah.
So I could have just, like, literally just went boom and just got out and automatically gotten the minor victory because
Yeah.
he could not have chased enough down
Yeah.
to make up the points.
Yep.
But I was like, nah, screw that. I'll play for the major. So, because why not?
Yep.
It's more fun that way. I'm not gonna freaking win the tournament.
Sure.
So who cares? So I brought in, like, so I set up this, like, again, like, I tried a bunch of different things. Skyfires missed. Just rolled like it was just the worst roll ever for Skyfire attacks. Failed 2 spells in a row to do more damage. Flew everybody in to, like, be in this ridiculous position around his gift. Because if any enemies are near you, it disrupts your ability to claim the gift, right?
Yeah.
Like, one enemy will disrupt it.
Yep.
So I had everybody spread out, and he only had 2 units.
Yep.
And he managed to, like, pop the lantern, roll high enough to do the wounds, spit with the fulminators, do it just enough damage. Like, everybody died to the wound, and all those troops just went blip and fell over dead. And he wiped every guy out, like, to the man. It was awesome. Like, what a fantastic end to that game. To watch my carefully laid plans explode. And he ended up getting the victory then because of that. Which was fine. Like, okay. Because I will say he got a minor out of it, right? Because we then ended tied.
Yeah.
And on Gift from the Heavens points. But then he ended up having 580 left to my 500. The Zangor and the Chaos Warriors. So, there you go. And my scheme was successful there too, so I still got the scheme.
Nice. So I played Matthew Sweeney in my game 3 against Gift from the Heavens. He was running the Stormcast, running his Stormcast list. My scheme was Bloodthirsty, which meant I chose a unit. And I had to have that unit in combat for their entire existence, like for every round of the game that they were on the table. And so he set up on the line, and I went, okay, let's do this.
A lot of people set up on the line against you.
They do. I
did not.
You did not. And so they set up on the line, Chaos Warriors. I chose them because they're bloodthirsty, and they make that charge on a 5 once people set up on the line. And so I flew them forward. And I went, well, let's see what happens. And so I stretched out the Chaos Warriors, interestingly enough, so that every single Chaos Warrior was in one of the drop spots, threatening within 6 inches. And so wherever it dropped on turn 2, he had to clear every single Chaos Warrior, every single one. Otherwise, he wouldn't start getting points.
Right.
And long story short, it was a couple rolls that he was able to, I had zoned out of mine. I felt real confident, and it just a couple things fell apart, You know, you had some really good rolls. I had some,
You failed a Mystic Shield, which was a big deal.
I failed a Mystic Shield.
1+1 to save on that whole line of gas warriors is a big deal against just
Yep.
on the raw number of saves you're going to make, obviously.
Yep, failed that Mystic Shield. And it was just enough that he killed me with the last round of attacks at the end of his second turn. Because I got first turn, and I got first and second turns. So my Chaos Warrior died at the very end of turn 2, which let him get his points for that first round of points for the Comet.
Should you have let him double turn you? That would have been the better play, I think. Because then you forced his Comet to come down.
Yeah.
Like, you would have ridden whatever buffs you already had ridden, assuming that you were well buffed.
Yep.
2, his Comet would have come down with one less combat phase in between you and him claiming those points.
Yeah, you're right.
You always, it's so easy to everybody doesn't want to be double turned.
Yeah.
But there were multiple times in this tournament where I did not, where I rolled and didn't take the double turn because it was, if you're in a solid buff position and you're in a good defensive position on the objectives, why?
Yeah. You're right.
If they're not going to shift you.
He was doing lots of damage to those Chaos Warriors, and I was afraid they were going to break. And I also didn't have that save. I was missing my +1 Mystic Shield, and so for next round of for another round of combat.
It was round 2 you lost it though.
No, it was round 1 I didn't get it.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. So I went and so round 1, and he was just doing tons of damage, and so I don't know, but you're right in the what we should have done. Well, I should have just given it to him, and I didn't. And that's my bad. It's my, it's a bad play on my part. And so he ended up breaking. He got the point. We both got our points. And then when he came down, he was able to get a Liberator in just close enough on his pylon
to disrupt your
to get within 6 inches. So I had to kill a unit of 5 Liberators, and everything on both of our forces were out of place. Everybody was I was fairly defensively positioned, but I was stretched out to zone, so I wasn't ready for combat.
Right.
And so he was able to get just enough around to get one base within 6 inches. So I had to kill 5 libs, and I had one of my turns to do it when he was just shit kicking, in turn 3.
Sure.
And what ended up happening was I had every opportunity. I lost the initiative going into turn 3, and that's what really swung it. Because I could have easily sailed and threatened his immediately, so that this wouldn't even have been a conversation. And so
by not letting him double turn you there, you set him up for the double turn later too.
Yep, what was important. So I wasn't able. So he double turned me. I wasn't able to threaten. It put me on the defensive, and he was able to get one in just barely. And I killed one. I was down to 4 going into my last turn, looking at the numbers, trying to figure it out. And I was like, wait, I should just play my fucking list. And I looked down, I saw 120 points of summoning, summoned a Herald of Siege. I'm like, here we go. Let's do this. Herald, you're on the block. Pink Fire, rolled my 9 on this pack of 4 Liberators. Rolled a 2 for my Mortal Wounds. On Pink Fire, rolled a 1 for my Arcane Bolt.
And it should also be noted that he there's always, because he was the
Hallowed Knight. He failed both of those saves on the spells. Yeah,
that's good at least.
Yeah, I put him in. But I only did 3 wounds, killed 1 lib, and charged in. So I had basically 5 wounds I had to take off. I had 2.5 libs. I think the Blight Kings might have gotten 1, and then I charged the remaining Marauders that were nearby were in position. So I demonic powered them, reroll ones, went all out, circled around. 15 Marauders got into combat, and they couldn't put 5 wounds on those Liberators.
No. The last Liberator is always really hard to kill. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, and so and he didn't, and his Battle Shock would only taken off 1 model.
Right.
So he still had 2. So literally that game, and so it went from me I felt like easily having a major victory, because I was going to lock him out of 1 turn. I only had to lock him out of 1 turn to go ahead in points. to having the major loss. So I had a major loss to Matt. Literally, and it came down to a fight between Marauders and Liberators. It's great. You know, like if I'm going to lose a game, that's how I want to lose a game.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, yeah, major victory to major loss because Marauders couldn't put wounds on Liberators.
Well, they are terrible.
Yes.
It's the proof point of everybody's been saying Marauders are terrible, and
well, I mean,
it is.
That's not why I take them.
I understand.
But again, and let me just say that like the Herald of Zeech could have rolled a little bit better too. Like it wouldn't have taken a whole lot more to for him to completely turn that fight.
Sure.
You know, with the even one more would have battle shocked him off.
Yep.
So. Yep. So that was my game 3.
That was your game 3. So then at the end of last night, David put up the pairings, okay, at the end of the night for the next day, which I always prefer.
Yeah.
I like when you know who you're going to play the day before. That's always fun. And so the it worked out that you and I were playing each other in the morning, which was hilarious.
Yeah, so we knew going into that night. I was like, ah, shit, here we go.
That couldn't have been. That was the best possible game for us to play each other too, because it gave me the maximum amount of time to stew and for it to be discussed. Yep. Because, as was said, like,
yeah. Yep.
Yes, because I yawned exactly listening to your story. So, that wasn't Tom. It's just been, you know, long weekend. But as I said, I had nothing to lose. I had a crappier list, and I'm not a good player. So if I happen to win,
Vince, I had never won a game in Warhammer against you. We don't play a lot, and
that's true.
You kicked my teeth in an 8th because I just didn't know how to play. Yeah. And AOS, have we played against each other in AOS?
Yeah, I think once
or twice. I mean, we don't play very often.
Right. Against each other.
Against each other, like, yeah. In our environments we do, but not because we live, 3.5 hours apart. And so I had never beaten Vince.
That is true, but I still say the odds were ever in your favor. You just had a better list. I mean, you had a better list. You had the right list, especially to counter my list. Yeah. Right? There was no good answer for me. So, I would like to think I played that as well as I could have.
You did. Yeah.
I know your setup tricks. I managed to corral your Chaos Warriors, I think, pretty effectively for the majority of the game. Like, their influence was as minimal as I could make.
Well, they just pushed you off.
Sure. I mean, there was, the things that needed to happen didn't happen. They're nearly impossible for me to break. All the good tools I have that could possibly do them get really kneecapped by your Nurgle thing because I don't have a bunch of guys who can hit on low numbers. They're all my ball breakers were all hit on 4 guys, so they're hitting on 5s, and it's just like
or 6s in the first turn.
So yeah, it's just like blah.
Yeah.
And you were going for first turn always. Like that was a foregone conclusion that you had to take first turn.
Yep.
Because otherwise I would have dumped every Siege Fate die I had into auto on your Chaos Warriors and battle shock them off, as many as I could
on turn 1.
On turn 1.
If you're able to,
Yep. I mean, it was just a slow grind of pain. That's what it was. Okay, got it.
Yeah, Vince just got up and walked away from the table.
To be fair, I got up and walked away from every opponent because it was just like, are you moving? Cool, I'm gonna go to the restroom. Just finish your movement, do what you want, it's fine.
Sure.
Like, I'm a trusting person and I don't care. Like, I don't need to be there to watch you move. Don't cheat, cool. Like, most players are good people for the most part. So like, 99% of all players are good people. So, I mean, it was just a slow, grindy slugfest.
Yeah.
Wherein I accomplished nothing.
My favorite part was, so I had chosen the Skyfires so he only had 6 Skyfires, but I knew that I felt like they were a major threat to all of my, bodies, because not my Chaos Warrior block.
Sure.
But to the Marauders. Yes. I mean, you put...
to your objective claimers.
Yeah, to my objective claimers. You could split up shots 3 and 3.
Sure.
If they're within range, split up shots 3 and 3 and just battle shock both units off.
Right.
And so, 2 of my 3 units. And so I just felt like I didn't have options. Like I had to play super conservatively with him. I had to keep him far back. I opened with summoning, for any of you guys that would watch our live stream of the event, I summoned Plague Bearers early on Vince's off point to kind of threaten to keep his Zangor over there. And then I just, and then I just shifted everything around to my far point. So like turn 3, I waited to turn 3 to pop Bellacor's plan on the Skyfires when Vince won initiative finally, and he came like he went to to activate, and like he had to check for movement, which he succeeded.
Yeah.
And then you had to check for charging, which
I checked for shooting. But I did check for shooting, which he did, and then check combat, which I called it.
And so
all rolls I did. And then next round they just failed again for combat. My dice were admittedly.
So you sent them into like six of these guys into 10 Marauders.
I did kill
2
one.
Shamans.
And 2
came
Shamans.
in, and nobody killed anything.
I did not kill a single Marauder.
Nope. And so those Marauders held him for a top and a bottom of a turn.
Yeah, I mean, and again, my dice were.
Yeah.
This is not an explanation. This is not an excuse. It would have. Those dice would have had to have been lava to turn the tide in that game. But they were cold in that game, certainly.
Yeah.
There was a lot of garbage rolling going on my part.
Yeah.
My only fun thing I did was kill your general or whatever.
Yeah. So my scheme, you want to talk about your scheme?
Sure. My scheme was I picked outmaneuver, which is to end with more units in his
starting zone.
Yeah, in his
my
backfield.
setup.
And I purposely wanted that one for escalation before I knew. When I saw that I had that in my initial grip, I tagged that one for escalation because you start. The nature of your deployment zone and escalation and the nature of how you start closer to it means that it's. And the fact that your deployment zone actually runs
so
this weird angle makes it easier to get into it.
Into their backfield.
Because there's a lot more ways you can work into it from the sides. On that angle of the table. So I already had that tagged, and I knew I had the more maneuverable list than you, because you could, you can sail like one guy around it. So you had picked, which is insane to me, but you had picked that I would kill every hero except your
so
hero.
Ambitious Protege or whatever, where I choose my lowest point hero, and they have to survive, and all the rest of my heroes have to die.
Right.
I didn't have a lot of good options. I knew I wasn't going to kill his general with my general, and that was one of the options. Outmaneuver was another one, and I just knew that I didn't have the bodies to get into his backfield. I didn't know that he was going to be outmaneuvering and pulling all his stuff into my backfield.
Right.
That would have been great.
But it swip swapped.
Yeah, it would just swip swap. But we didn't know. I didn't know, obviously. And so what I did was I moved my people out into what I felt like were ambitious, or I didn't want to make it obvious that I was throwing people out into these weak positions. But I left people in positions where they could easily be sniped. So if Vince was looking at the table, you go, oh man, I can sail this turn with little effort. And he was like, nope. And he just left all of my heroes alone. Other than my general.
That was just me trying to get rid of the 5-up nonsense.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yep.
And you're just getting rid of the 5-up save.
And I just ran my...
Also, he happened to be sitting on the middle point.
Yeah.
Right? So there was a world where I could fly in and land there.
Wreak some havoc.
Yeah. And theoretically, if you had to pull enough bodies for some reason from the middle, I could then end up outbodying you for a single round, which is all it would have, that would have been part of the take. But it didn't pan out like that, obviously. There was all sorts of fun, terrible things. Just some examples of my rolling that are super fun, like my 20 Zangor plowing into 10 stupid Plague Bearers and leaving one alive.
One.
Yeah,
20 Zangor.
After Battle Shock, one was still alive. That's the world I'm living in here.
Yeah, he's just hanging out.
So, whatever. It was what it was. It's fine.
Yeah.
It went as I expected, to be frankly completely honest.
Fair enough.
Yes.
It was a fun game though.
It was
it wasn't for you.
It was not a fun game for me. Complete, true story. No, it was not a fun game for me. I enjoy playing you anytime. You're a good player. You're a nice player. You're very challenging to play against, and you're a thoughtful player. I enjoy playing you. I don't enjoy playing that list. There's a distinction there.
No, and that's fine.
No part of you makes that unenjoyable.
Right, and like, you know, as I've said to you before, like, I would never take that list for a friendly game night. Like, that's not what that list is.
Sure. Well, there may be people who, for a friendly game, enjoy that. It's just anti my personality. Like, when I run into, like, lists that blow me off the table, I don't care. That doesn't bother me. I don't mind super damage lists. Like, I'm Timmy. What Timmy wants to do is push his toys forward and watch his toys do what his toys are supposed to do. The reason that I bought the toys, painted the toys, and brought the toys to the tournament, which is to actually kill stuff.
Yeah.
And your list is like, no, you're not allowed to have your fun. For me to have my fun, you can't have your fun. Yep. Your list has a mutually exclusive fun clause, whereas other lists don't. Like the Skyfire Siege list, who cares? Whatever, we're going to smash each other to bits. Yeah. Awesome. Like, we both get to have our fun. Yours says, you don't do your thing, only I do my thing.
Yeah.
It's the problem of defense.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Like, it is the very definition of the problem of defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, if you actually manage to get hits, and you actually manage to get wounds, then I'm just going to save so many of them as to make it irrelevant.
Yep. And oftentimes, you doing your thing, I will save out of, and you will take mortal wounds in response.
Right. Which, again, I don't care about that. Like, that never bothered me or entered my decision-making.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because, like, that's the sort of corn kickback you have in that battalion, which is what I would call it.
Yeah.
Right?
The corn kickback.
Yeah, I mean, you're borrowing from corn there. They should take that away from you, and just only corn gets that.
No, I have bile spurting out of my...
Whatever, so what? Good. I don't care. You're not a freaking alien. Your blood isn't acid, for God's sakes.
It is, for Nurgle.
It's disease. You gotta choose. You're either disease or acid. Aliens aren't disease blood. They're acid blood. Disease doesn't kill you that quickly. That's all I'm saying.
It's virulent.
Apparently. So anyways, that, like, I never was concerned about that at all. Like, I don't care. That doesn't stop my fun.
And you're not throwing enough, well, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't stop my fun.
Yeah.
I still, if I swung
killing it,
and smashed a bunch of stuff, and then in response, tons of mortal wounds got dealt back to me, I would be like, woohoo! Who cares?
Yeah.
Everything dies. You know, like, again, loss. And maybe I'm a strange player. I don't know. But I know that loss doesn't bother me. I don't mind losing things.
Yeah.
Unless it's like top of one and you just get blown off the table. I mean, there's a limit, of course.
Yeah.
You know, but as long as, like, my toys get to do some things,
you like
their
to fight
toys
back.
get to do some things.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
I like a loss where I got to kill a bunch of models is a great game. That's why, like, Lewis, that my game 3 was an amazing game. I got to murder so many Stormcast. Like, I got to just molest his force horribly, okay? But he won. He got the major victory and earned it, okay? It wasn't... He played well and earned that major. Make no mistake. Yes, there were some bad rolls on me. Yes, there were some good rolls for him. That's good, but that is not the explanation.
Yeah.
He earned that major victory. But I got to have all my fun.
Yeah.
Okay?
But with mine, you don't get to have fun.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, you know, and again, I don't like, I'm not, this isn't me poo-pooing like, oh, boo AOS or boo your list. No, it's just whatever. Nobody's, I'm not. Okay.
Yeah.
So what?
It is what it is. Yeah.
I would have rather, I'm glad it was you piloting that list and not a rando. Because if it was somebody I didn't know and they had that list, I'd be like, screw this guy. Let me tell you what. That guy would be the nicest guy in the world not to get like a 3.
On
sportsmanship, yeah.
Yeah. I think I got a lot of high scores. Like, I got mostly 5s.
Well, again, it's credit. So, like, you explain what you're doing. You don't pull sneaky deaky crap on people. You know, you tell people up front how things work.
Yeah.
This is what this list does.
Yeah. Yeah, and I walk through my list. I have all of my battalion rules written out on my sheet. All my abilities are there. So I let people know, like, this is what it does. This is my movement. Like, nothing surprising here. So, yeah.
And then, so game 5.
So, I majored.
Oh, yeah. You
No
majored.
scheme. Vin scheme.
Yes.
No major.
Correct.
Or no victory.
No victory.
So 15-10.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Game 5, I'll wrap it up quickly. I played who you played in round 2.
Yep.
Which he used his Lord of Change, Skyfire, all ZG list.
Yep.
Which was good. Like, it was a great list.
Yep.
And he, like, I got out real far. I used my Fatesworn list in that game because I had to.
Yep.
Which was fine. I wanted to get around with it anyways. And it did more or less what I expected it to. Again, it just didn't have the killing power. I did actually have quite a lot of fun playing it. The Chaos Knights beat up a Lord of Change real bad, which was fun. Didn't quite get him dead, but that's because we ran out of time. Like, they won that fight. It, like, that is to say, on a long enough timeline. If we had one more round of combat, I would have killed that Lord of Change. He stood no chance in that fight. I got to kill a whole bunch of stuff. He, for the most part, the Fatesworn with all the stacked saves.
Yeah, you run the list like mine.
Sure, like against those kind of like mortal wounds, like all those spells he would throw just were.
Yeah, you're like 5 up, 6 up, 6 up.
5 up, 6 up, 6 up against mortals. Yeah, and like most of my guys were 4 up or 3 up.
This guy.
Rollable saves.
This guy.
I know. This is the worst. That's what I just said. Now that being said, no part of that stopped him from still running Slipshot over me because he did have like 9 Skyfires and stuff.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And you didn't have that champion, that MVP Chaos Warrior to slip in and engage them in combat.
Yeah, well, and the nature of the last one is like it's not a great. So the last one was Border Wars or whatever, right?
Yep. Which is the 1-2-1.
Yeah, the 1-2-1, the diamond pattern objectives, and you can body block people off of objectives there, right?
Yep.
Which is just like be on an objective with more people and you win. But you don't have to sit there. You can just take it, claim it, leave, right? And he had a big advantage there to his because he played his list where pinkies could become blueies, could become brimmies, and he had like a 20 Zangor pack. So like that, I don't have a unit in my army that's 20 strong in that Fatesworn list.
Yeah, everything's
so
like 9s.
Yes. I even subtracted 1 from all my units just to get like 9 so I could actually use the stupid Fatesworn ability. So like, he ended up getting ahead of me, getting my point for a round, and he stopped me from taking his by turning 4 pinkies into 8 blueies.
Blues, yeah.
And so like my 7 Chaos Knights just couldn't be enough to actually take it. Like,
sure.
And they were in combat. The blues were, to be very clear, I was not in combat with the blues. He had sort of popped them on the point.
Yep.
So the knights were in combat. So even if I had like retreated and been clever and just went over and stood,
re-engage him.
I could. Like my 7 doesn't beat his 8. It's that easy.
Yeah.
But like I was happy. The Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount is super sweet. He did fun stuff. Walked around and smashed people up. That dude with the Fatesworn Battalion and Phantasmal Weapons is super cool. Because his horse is neg 2 rend. His dumb demonic horse is like neg 2 rend, which is funny as all get out. Yeah, I mean, it was fun.
And we talked ways to improve that Fatesworn.
Yeah, it could certainly be better. Most of what limits it is I don't want to paint crap.
Yeah.
That like
you don't want to paint Marauders and more Chaos Warriors.
Yeah, that being said, I should just be using my Beastmen as my Siege Marauders for that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because it's just gore. Yeah. There's no reason why they wouldn't work perfectly as Marauders. Especially in a siege force.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it, but I have like 30 gore painted.
Oh, yeah,
so
totally.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, for the future.
Yeah.
And I don't think if I sat those down. I have a Siege Beastman army.
Yeah.
And I don't think if I sat those down, anybody would be like, Marauders? I don't think so. Like, nah, these are just mutated Marauders. It's fine.
Yeah.
It would be even especially fluffy, I think, if they did for the army. So,
yeah.
They're all Siege. They're all in color. They're matching basic schemes, the whole deal. So,
yeah.
Because I originally made the army to match with the mortals. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I got my scheme, which was Map Maker, where you have to touch all 4 corners of the board, and you and I had talked about using the Fatesworn on that. So I set up 2 chariots in the far corners. Like, I had 2 chariots in the list. So a chariot in each corner. So they started the game touching 2 of the 4. And then, like, because the Border War pulls you into a diamond in the middle.
It clears the edges.
It clears the edges. So then the chariots just spent the entire game running to the other side, so just like running the 48 inches to the other side of the corners, and they ended the game. They tagged it, and just like he's like, yeah, are they gonna turn around? I was like, no, they just keep going.
You said halfway through, he was like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute, I know what you're doing.
That's awesome.
But you can't dedicate resources to it.
Yeah, when you're engaged.
It's not that he couldn't have skyfired them or like flown over and skyfired them, but is he really going to dedicate a round of skyfire shooting to that when like
in a timed event?
Right, in a timed event where also there's like very like I had targets that needed to be killed because they were on points. Right, like the skyfires are like the major hitting power of that list.
Right, they are.
Beyond that, it's spells, and like the spells just didn't do that much.
Right. I mean, almost all your stuff had like spell shields and additional ward saves, and just all of it, all of the saves.
All the saves, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but it was a really good game. It was very fun. He's a great player, and it was engaging the whole time. So like, I was up for 2 or 3 turns, and then he got up, and I couldn't claw back, and he got the major. So there you go. And he did achieve his scheme as well. So he got 25 to 10.
Yep.
So you were playing next to me.
I was
also playing another siege list.
So Vince got pushed to table 7 after his loss on 4 against me.
6. You were on 5.
Yeah, you're on table 6, right? Because I didn't major objective, I got pushed to 5. You bastard.
Well, I was like the scheme. Not only did I complete all my schemes, but I was the scheme stealer. How many points was Matt off of perfect? 15.
Yeah.
10 of those were me, baby, because I stopped this scheme.
Yeah. Yep. And so I'm gonna spend some extra time. Like, there's a level of hell that is dedicated to me for my last game, and I didn't realize this until we got into a turn into it. But this was so I played Jason Simmons. Jason laid down an atypical Zinch list. Like, it's not real atypical, but he had 18 drops.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. He could go down to 11 if he really wanted to. And so I think he was an 8th player, and has recently got in. And so this was his 9th game of AOS ever.
Yeah, which is great. Rolling up against Tom's, just fun killer list. What's his name, Jason?
Jason, yeah.
Jason, don't stop playing Age of Sigmar. It's okay. Most people and most lists aren't like Tom. We're all good. It's fine.
We got into it, and he looked at me and he went, what do the lists on the first 4 tables look like if yours looks like this and you're here? Thanks, Jason. No, it was a good game. So he played a Multitudinous Horde, that's like one of the uncapped Zinchi lists, demon lists, where you can just keep putting hordes in, like tons of hordes, the Multitudinous Horde. And so he ran like 5 heroes: Lord of Change, a Herald of Zinch, 2 Gaunt Summoners, and a Zangor Shaman. Like, that was his hero suite. And then he was like 3 sets of 10 pink horrors, 4 sets of blue horrors, and 3 sets of brimstone horrors. And if you know anything about the list, all the blues and pinks regen at D6 models per turn. All of the brimstones regen at D3 models. And then he had 3 sets of 3 Zangor Skyfires. Yep. He set up on the line.
Sure.
My plan originally was to charge up but not engage and then rotate. Vince and I talked pretty extensively about how to execute this. And I was going to do my objective I was going to do outmaneuver and get more units in his starter zone than he had. But I realized that I was staring down a gun line of spells and range attacks with 18 units.
Yep.
I wasn't going to clear that. That couldn't happen.
No.
And so I decided...
Not with that amount of regen.
Not with that amount of regen, right. And so... But the reason why I didn't go through with my plan was that he set up on the line. And everything on the line was, first of all of his Skyfires were on the line.
Right.
All 3 sets. A bunch of hordes were on the line. A bunch of hordes with a 5-up, or no, none of the pinks were on the line. So all of them had either a 6-up or no save.
Right.
And I like looked at it, and my Chaos Warriors coming in, you know, I could throw 10, you know, five Chaos Warriors, throw 10 attacks at a unit like that. Oftentimes they're rolling on like 3-up rerolls, 3-up reroll 1s, 4-up reroll 1s. Like I can throw out a nice number of wounds against a number of those units. So I charged everything up, just everything. And he was very surprised. You know, obviously I don't think he had ever seen Sail before. And I don't think that he expected the Nurgle Bomb. So the highlight of this was, you know, I jumped up in points. I held all 3 points for the first 3 turns of the game. He moved his Lord of Change over my line towards a point to begin putting more pressure, which was generally a smart move. I mean, he's a great player. I had buffed up, so I chose the scenario, or the scheme. Sorry, I chose the scheme that I needed to do. My general had to kill Vendetta. My general had to kill his general. And I told Vince, I was like, this Harbinger is never going to do that. And Vince was like, oh no, you know, maybe, you know, you never know. I was like, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. I mean, I wasn't going to get the other one, and I couldn't get Totem because I didn't have any Totems in my army. Thanks. But anyway, so I buffed up this Blight King unit. I was going to sail him forward, and I was going to bomb his, I was next to Damn Terrain, so I sacrificed the wound, you know, the D3. Blight Kings were 3-up, reroll 1s, +1 to hit. Exploding attacks on 5s and 6s. We were wrapping up the game, and he's like, I think I'm going to send him into... He's so good. He's like, I'm going to send this Lord of Change into those Blight Kings. Because I wasn't able to get him into combat. They failed their charge. So he sends him in, which is within my pile-in range of my general. So, like, I have an easy 1-2 punch. He had 13 wounds left on the 13 wounds left on the Lord of Change. And so I just had to do 13 wounds, which I was like, I'm going to need some exploding hits, but I'm going to explode on 5s and 6s. Drop 12 dice. I had 5 of them explode. And I generated 30 plus wounds. I confirmed 23 of them. Yep. He's a 4-up save. I didn't want to go over 24. He's a 4-up save, so statistically, he'll save 12.
Right, which would leave him on 1 wound.
Leave him on 1 wound for the general to come in, you know, put on the
pile-in range.
Who's in pile-in range? Who's in the next one? Those fucking Blight Kings killed him to a wound.
Oops.
They did 13 wounds.
Yeah, you were too effective.
They were too effective.
It's very funny. That's what you get. That's what you get for your cheating. You kill things too well.
So I ended up getting a major victory, no minor. Or no scheme, because my Blight Kings murdered his Lord of Change in a single round of combat. 5 Blight Kings. Pretty good. 4 Blight Kings, sorry. He killed one on the charge.
You did have the Damn Terrain to help out, so.
Damn Terrain, rerolls
anytime
on 1s.
Those guys get bonuses to hit, it gets scary fast, right?
Especially if they're on rerolls of 1s. Like one of those ones to hit, I converted to a 6. So, yeah.
Yep. So that was the game.
That was the game. Vince won Best Painted, as he mentioned. I took 3rd. Matt Sweeney took 1st. Tyler Emerson took Best Order General. Yeah. My 2 losses, I didn't feel bad. They were against, you know, who won. Matt won over, and Tyler who, Best Order.
Kale got Best Destruction.
Kale got Best Destruction, and Kale got Best Sportsman.
Yep.
Who else?
Because here's why.
Yeah.
Let me say this. Because 1, Kale's an awesome person and super friendly to play against. Like, dude is a great behind.
Yep.
But 2, he had to also get the destruction bump. Okay?
Yeah.
Which is that now that's not true, because like 4 people all tied got best votes. Yeah. Here's the thing. I suspect he would have gotten my best game vote had I played him. Because in this freaking world of just like Stormcast nonsense and hammers and blah blah blah.
And like Thunder Tusk, like
and Siege, garbage, magic, Skyfire. The dudes who just want to run across the table and punch you in the face real hard are like the most welcome sight in the world. It's like, oh, thank God, orcs.
Well, we were tied going to the final round, Kale and I was like, oh, please let me play him. One, because I love just rolling dice. Like, that's what we would do. We would roll dice against each other all game.
Yes.
He would punch me in the face. I would save out of most of it, and I would punch him back.
Sure.
And so he does everything I would want to do. Yeah, and I probably would have won.
I don't know whether that's true or not, but I do know that it was it was good. And then Best Death. The awesome part about Best Death, I'm sorry I don't remember the name of the person who won. But the cool thing about Best Death is that the top 2 death players came up against each other
in the final round. Yeah.
So they knew, like, they were both the highest death in the tournament, and they were tied. So they were playing for Best Death, and they knew that. So that was real cool.
It was a converted vampire army, and a spirit Night Haunt, a full Night Haunt.
Yes. Yeah, it was very cool. Like, cool looking army. Real neat Frost Phoenix conversion into the Death
on
Army.
The vampire.
Yeah.
Yep.
On the vampire.
He won second best painted.
Yes.
Yep.
It was good looking army.
He beat me out for
had a real nice board.
Yep.
Cool conversions. It was a real good looking army.
Yep.
And my favorite art, like, just as a side note, and then which one did we talk about? Best
Chaos. Best Chaos was one of the corn players. I don't know. It wasn't Jacob.
Yeah, I never played him. I don't think you did either.
I didn't play him either. Yeah.
So
it might have been the Chaos Knight guy.
No, it wasn't him. No, he didn't win. He didn't win Best Chaos, which I was sad about.
Oh.
Yeah. So my favorite.
Oh, it's probably the Siege player that was up on the top.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my favorite list.
Yeah.
At the tournament.
Yep.
Was this is such an amazing list. So, you had 2 full lists, right?
Yep.
So his one list was a Council of Blood.
Yep.
So 4 Bloodthirsters. Now one of the Bloodthirsters was Scarbrand. So Scarbrand and 3 Bloodthirsters.
Yep.
And then like 30 Fleshhounds, right? And the general was Karanak.
Which is genius.
The 3-headed dog. Because Karanak, if he is the general, Fleshhounds become battle line.
Yep.
And so then the Council of Blood is still there and does its thing.
And the Council of Blood, for those of you guys that don't know, it turns on all the command abilities for all the Bloodthirsters.
Right.
So he literally got all the command abilities, all of them.
Yep.
He pulled an Archeon with Karnak.
With Karnak. It was amazing. 30 Fleshhounds led by Karnak. And we were talking about it at dinner last night, because the funniest part to me about that is just the narrative of that story. Of these 4 Bloodthirsters hanging out. Including Scarbrand, yes.
Yep.
So these 4 Bloodthirsters are hanging out before the battle. And they're like, we're all very angry. Yes, I agree. We're all very angry. Okay. We want to kill people. Yes, I agree. We all want to kill people. What's our best way we can do that? And one of them is let's follow this dog. This 3-headed dog. That's the guy we're going to throw our weight behind.
And he's like, wait,
we,
the dog?
The champions of Khorne, the mightiest demons of the realms, will follow into battle that dog over there.
I think Khorne's messing with us.
Khorne is clearly screwing these guys. My thought was, do you remember the story that happened in one of the first books about the first Bloodthirster that died and went back to Khorne's, it's he fell in battle, which returns him back to Khorne's realm in the Chaos Realms. And he has to use the back door, because he's not allowed to use only champions are allowed in the front door of the Brass Palace or whatever. So he's got to use the crap door, and he walks in and he's got to use the doggy door, and he stands before Khorne, and Khorne is like, what defeated you in battle? You, my mightiest of servants. And that's the first guy who speaks the name of the Sigmarines, right? That he says the Stormcast defeated.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's how Khorne sort of came to know of the Stormcast. It was like the story that came on the back of the initial box set thing.
Yeah.
So my thought was, that's the first 4 Bloodthirsters that went down. Right?
You 4?
You're following that dog now. That's what you get. You lose, follow the dog. You're worse than a dog. That's what you are to me. So this is an amazing army. I love everything
Which, let
about
me just say, Ben Johnson, pay attention.
Right. Ben should have been rolling the Karnak list at SCGT.
The mistake was going with the blood.
Blood letters instead of flesh hounds.
The blood letters. Flesh hounds and Karnak. That was the right answer.
Yeah, that dude had dispels all over the place.
Yeah, like every unit of dogs had a dispel with a reroll.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And Karnak would like cause mortal wounds if he dispelled, and then at least one or two of the bloodthirst. I mean, dude, he had like 7 unbinds.
Yeah, I know, and it's actually a pretty darn good list against Siege.
It's a great meta list
because of just all the it really can shut down a lot of.
And he tabled most of his opponents. He cleaned them off the table with that list.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that was what he run 4 of his games. His other list, his fallback list, also a personal favorite. Like, I brought 10 Chaos Knights, and
you thought you had all the Chaos Knights.
I thought I had a lot of Chaos Knights. Because, nobody uses Chaos Knights right now, right?
They're overcosted.
They're overcosted. They're 200 points for 5 guys, 15 wounds. They generally hit like feathers.
Yep.
In the Fatesworn Battalion, they're better because that was the whole thing. They all got red neg 1.
Yep.
But still, they're just not that good, right? He had 25?
20.
Was it 20? No, it was 25. It was 25 because he had 10 more than me. Or maybe it was 20 because he had 10 more than me.
Yeah.
Whatever. He had
all the Chaos
I think he might have had 25. I swear to God. Let's say for argument he had 25 because that'd be 1,000 points in Chaos Knights, which is fine. And then that list also had a Warpfire Dragon.
Yep.
Which is amazing.
Yep. That happened.
And then I think Marauders. He just had 3 10 packs of Marauders.
3 10 packs of Marauders. And he had Bellicor.
Yeah, he did have Bellicor, yeah.
Had Bellicor.
Well, between having a Warpfire Dragon, which is awesome, because, that dude is, seriously, I told him straight to his face, and I mean it, I'll say it now on video, he is my hobby hero. That guy, a Warpfire Dragon, 25 Chaos Knights, a Council of Blood, following Karnak, and 30 Flesh Hounds.
And on table number 3 in the final game.
Yeah,
Or no, 2. No, 2.
He was way
2.
Up there.
Yeah, because it was 2 Chaos players playing. Yeah.
He was, what an amazing player. A super unique list, piloted incredibly well, very smart to the meta, unbelievably unique, and still fun. Just freaking awesome. That is a hot 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Let me just say that right now.
Yep.
I loved everything about it. So, yeah, that dude, if there was some favorite army thing, because sometimes some tournaments will do your pick your favorite army or whatever.
Yeah.
Not
fan favorite.
Yeah, fan favorite. It has not necessarily to do with painting.
Yes.
It just has to do with the construction of the army and all of that.
The story or the theme or whatever.
Yeah, that would have been my absolute vote. There wouldn't have even been a thought.
Yeah.
That would have been my pick.
Yep.
So that was sweet. There was only one, just other oddities from the tournament. There was only one KO list there.
Yeah.
Which is not surprising because most people couldn't get, the fact that you had to have 2 lists, and although they didn't have to be incredibly different, it probably meant you were painting a little more than 2,000 points in most cases. So, this KO, the Overlords released pretty recently to actually paint. And they're fairly detailed models, to be completely honest.
They are.
So, getting plus-ish points of them done in this amount of time is not...
It's a stretch.
It's not an easy thing to do, yeah. But there was one person there who had them. He had an ironclad and a bunch of Endrin riggers.
No, it was a frigate. It wasn't an ironclad.
He had the face on the front.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, the toothy face.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was an ironclad.
Yeah.
That's the only way I know them apart. One has the dwarf face. One has the toothy lines.
Yep.
What I'm trying to think of anything else that really stood out.
He was mid-tables.
Yeah.
I didn't see his lists, but it sounded like he was running Thringy. Interesting. Or Thringe.
Oh, really?
The Thringe. Yeah, the Grudge. The one that I had originally planned on.
Yeah. I think that's, overall, it was good. I can't think of anything else that stood out to me. Obviously, the shift in the meta to Protectors and Fulminators and stuff like that for Stormcast is real.
Yeah.
We're down to poor connection now. I suspect that means now it's getting choppy for everybody.
It's getting dark, too.
It is. So, are we calling this?
I think so. I mean, it was a great weekend. Had a lot of fun. Great venue, great games, great people. Yeah.
Overall, A+. Thank you very, very much to David Griffin, who ran the tournament and who did an awesome job. look forward to next year, buddy. We're going to be back again. Don't worry. I'm 100% in.
Yeah, we're going to get it up to 50. Goal's 50.
50 next year. Let me say this. Like, if you're anywhere where you could make the trip to Nashville next year, watch for this. Do it. Get out there. Great crew of people. David's an awesome TO. Very, very fun. A+. 10 out of 10. 5 stars. I don't know.
Would do again.
Would do again. Yes, there you go. All right. There you go. That's all.
We'll be back this Wednesday with Warhammer Weekly.
Indeed. See you next time.